Good stories are always hung on one or all of the following things: either a surprising or memorable image, bit of sound, or moment of emotion, and all of that establishes a human connection. The best stories are hung on that human connection. So it's surprise and memorable images and sound, and lots of reactions from the people who might be witnessing the events. It's not just the newsmakers, it's the reaction to them. Sometimes these surprising or memorable images, you get a lot of mundane stories, a city council story or whatever, and oh, how am I going to make this surprising or memorable? Well, sometimes these surprising and memorable images come from extreme tight shots and unusual details of things that are going on, of someone's hands, even shots of the shoes they're wearing, or maybe you take a very tight shot of somebody's eyes as it crunches up when they hear the numbers in a budget story. Or sometimes you're interviewing somebody in their office and they have little tchotchkes or funny things on their desk or on the shelves behind them that might tell you something about their personality. I work hard to try to get lots and lots of tight shots of little details that people otherwise wouldn't see. And I don't necessarily write lines to them, but those things tell you a lot about the person you're talking to, and they engage people. Sometimes it's not the person, the newsmaker, who's relaying the information, it's the reaction from other people, particularly emotional reaction, that makes a story. Frustration at a city council meeting, fear from a mom who's worried about crime on a playground, surprise from people who are pointing at the fire. That requires you to have the courage to turn the camera away from the action and get mandatory reactions, not just pictures of them, but sound from them. What do you think about the event that's occurring in front of you? Tell me about the event that's occurring in front of you. You're always doing that, and you always have your ears open, and you're always asking open-ended questions. You do not ask questions where the answer could be, yes. You do ask questions that force people to frame a sentence and tell you what their thoughts are. So let's say we're talking to a robbery victim. The robber had a gun. Do you ask him, did the robber have a gun? And he'll say yes. Do ask, tell me about the robber. And then the person will frame a sentence. Well, he was this guy, he came in here. Then he might mention he has a gun. And you do ask, oh my God, tell me about that. And then the guy tells you about the gun. You get lots more emotion and usable sound by open-ended questions. And often they're so simple, they just start with, tell me about. As a relatively new photographer, somebody who's holding the camera as part of his everyday job, some of the best advice I ever got came from a former MPPA Photographer of the Year who happened to be my news director at the time about a year ago, and a guy named Lane Michelson, who's now down in Florida. He said, leave the lavalier microphone on them and learn to ask the following question. Huh? And what he meant by that was, after a formal interview is over, people begin to talk, and they might say something extemporaneously, and your camera's pointed a different way because you're shooting cutaways or whatever, and you miss that sound. And all you have to do is pretend you're hard of hearing with your grandma, and spin the camera around, point it at them, and say, what's that? I didn't hear you, or huh? And they, boom, regurgitate it just like that. And it has saved me, since I got that advice, it saved me, I don't know, dozens, maybe 100 times. You just get way better sound. But you got to keep your ears open to hear it go by in the first place. Well, and the multimedia journalist with a smaller camera, one person, it is in fact less intimidating than a big crew and a lot of lights. And sometimes people become more comfortable with you more quickly. And once that interaction begins and you learn to say, huh, they begin talking. So that's one of the many advantages of being an MMJ is the lighter gear and the comfort level that some interview subjects have with that. Well, I appreciate you saying that. It kind of happened by accident, and it happened because of what I was learning as the TV station was going digital and moving forward. And I realized that if you're not seen on Google, you don't exist. What's the first thing a reporter does every day when they get onto a subject? They Google it. Well, all I've begun to do by creating a blog and some of these other things is to create and continue to enhance an online profile so that when somebody's looking for you, they find what you want them to find. So it's relatively simple to launch a blog and put some stories up, maybe talk about the backstory on those stories. And that's an opportunity for you to put up information about yourself and other things. And it's basically a living resume. And it's not just people in TV professions, people in all professions now are doing that.